G'day and welcome to the first edition of In the Sheds, where each week we'll take a look at the upcoming round of the 2013 Group 9 season. Each week I'll be joined by a special guest, and today it is CRL Regional Manager Dave Skinner. Dave, welcome mate. The Group 9 season about to get underway this week. Exciting times.
It is, Tim. It is. It seems to take forever to come round, a long off-season, but gee, it's going to be a good competition this year.
It certainly is. What a way to kick it off as well. Robertson Oval, Anzac Day. It is the Wagga Kangaroos, Wagga Brothers, and they're going to share the stage as well with the RFL, with Colin Gully and the Wagga Tigers. It's going to be a super duper match.
Yeah, well, it is. Not just the fact that it's a local derby. I think this is the first time ever that we've had a double header of dual codes like that in Australia, perhaps.
Of course, the four teams, it means a lot to all of those teams, but the Kangaroos especially. Yeah,
well, look, the Kangaroos have got a lot of history related back to the thing commemorates the 1915 Kangaroo March, and the Kangaroo Club actually named themselves after that in, I think it was around 1934. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere around that time.
Now, of course, the Kangaroos this season, how do you think they're going to go in the 2013 Group 9 competition?
Yeah, look, they will certainly improve. They got a good young base there last year, perhaps just a little bit inexperienced, and I guess when we compared them to the competition heavyweights like Albury, a bit of body shape difference. These young fellas, they've had a bit of time to be in the gym. I know a few of them that have certainly put on some size in the off-season, and with that, they've had a few new inclusions, picked up a key front rower, which gives them a little bit more stability up there. So I think they're going to be improvers this season.
Of course, brothers, they're arch rivals. The two Adams at the helm, Van Zanten and Perry. Do you think they're going to make a difference to brothers this year?
Well, I work with them, so I'll say no, but I'm sure they will. In fact, I know our professional Adam Van Zanten certainly is about his coaching, and they've recruited well, the brothers too. You know, they've brought 9 or 10 players into the side that weren't there last year, and I think that's going to add some impetus to them, particularly in attack.
Now we'll take a look at the other games for round one, and a cracking one. In Gundagai, the Tigers taking on Albury. Albury thrashed them in the major semi last year. That was the last time the two teams met. Do you think Albury have got what it takes to go back-to-back in 2013?
Well, look, I do. I thought they looked impressive in the pre-season. They're certainly the biggest and most mobile side in the competition. In saying that, look, I've got a huge rating for Gundagai. They're very local this year. I know they've blooded a lot of young blokes out of their 18s during the course of last year, to the extent that James Smart has shifted himself from halfback to allow young Blake Dean to come into that position. So, I think there'll be a lot of spirit in the Gundagai side, and particularly at Anzac Park.
Tumbarumba will travel to Tumut. What do you make of those two sides?
Well, look, Tumut have got a few of their old premiership players back. The likes of Matt Free, Jason Back. They're good quality players who have had some experience in premiership sides. Josh Tui back, but in saying the same, Tumbarumba have recruited heavily this year, and there's big raps on Aaron Sweeney. We're yet to see how he lines up in the competition proper, but certainly his resume is fairly impressive.
Cootamundra and Young both made the top 5 last year. Young, I guess, fell apart towards the end of the year after a solid year, and Cootamundra, how do you think they'll travel as well?
Well, that was interesting. Young showed so much, and then, as you say, it just sort of fell apart for him in the finals. I think they've lost a few players since then, and I think Young will do a little bit tougher this year than they were last year. They'll be definitely relying on young locals. Cootamundra, on the other hand, very promising. They've got the likes of Grant Boyd and Robert Tullenew that have returned to the side. They're experienced first graders. I think, with someone like Mark Earley, who's a very experienced coach, that they'll certainly be amongst it this year.
A team I'm looking forward to watching this year is Temora. Anthony Shembron at the helm, and I know they've made plenty of signings. Jay Little is one of them. They take on Junee in the first round. They've also made a couple of signings with Jade Williams leading the way.
Yeah, well, look, with Temora, Jay Little, he's certainly no youngster, but all the reports through the pre-season is that he's been a crucial ingredient to what they've recruited. He's steering that back line around, and I know they've picked up a good young hooker in Jeremy Smith. Mate, they certainly have suggested they've got a lot to offer, but they fell a bit short of that in the pre-season. They got quite a thumping from Cootamundra. I think they'll bounce back, and I'm seeing a pretty positive season for Temora. Junee, of course, too. They're a side that have have been working on their young locals for a couple of seasons now, and they've got so many good promising ones coming through. Someone like Jade will actually add that bit of experience to steer them around the park. Picked up a couple of more young recruits, a young front rower from the Parramatta under-20s and a young utility back from the Canberra competition. Yeah, they're going to be young and enthusiastic, and if Jade can steer them around, they'll certainly be in the mix.
Of course, South City have the bye for round one, but disappointment, I guess, before the season even starts with Daniel Fitzhenry possibly out for the season.
Big dent, yeah. Daniel's such a good player, and above all else, he's been a champion coach, and I don't think that's going to move South City too much away from the job at hand. They're a very professional side. They'll grind out the 80 minutes with anybody, and I think they'll expect another very solid year again.
Well, each week here in the Sheds, we do want to do a set of 6. We're going to put you through a set of 6 questions. You can answer them however you want, mate. We'll start off. Your first tackle is going to be the league's most improved side. Who do you think it's going to be?
Ooh, the league's most improved side, I think this year will be Cootamundra.
Plenty of great buys going around. Who's the buy of the year, you think?
Buy of the year is another tough one. I would have to say, just because I've seen him play football and because of his record last year in the Group 11 competition, I'd say Jade Williams.
Now, of course, the player to watch.
Well, the player to watch is a bit of a tough one. Obviously, in two different ways. You know, I would think that Jeremy Smith from Temora will be a player to watch just because of his speed out of that dummy half spot and what danger he could do there. But gee, I'd like to think Aaron Sweeney could be a player to watch, because if you don't, he'll absolutely flatten you. So, you know, at Tumbarumba, they'll certainly have some people looking.
Now, you've been around a lot of the teams for a few years now. Which team celebrates the hardest, do you think?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think, with all respect, that all the sides do, but there's no way better to celebrate than on a winning culture. And I think that those sides that have built a good winning, you know, ratio over the last few seasons, such as the Albury, such as the South City, such as the Gundy, I think they celebrate just as well. Now,
the coaches, you work with a couple, as you said before, from Brothers. Who are the scariest coaches in the comp?
Oh, gee, I don't know if we've got too many at the moment that froth and bubble every time they speak. But, yeah, no, that will be interesting. I'm not real sure on the form of the new Tumut coach. He's only a fairly young fella, but I haven't heard of anyone that's a real froth and bubble man at the moment, so we'll wait and see. I think they'll all be quietly spoken.
And the sixth tackle, who's going to win the comp?
Oh dear, now you really have put me under the pump. Look, I would have to think that, and I can't say one side, but I would have said that through the pre-season and from last year's form, the 2 grand finals from last year, there's only a hair splitting those two sides, and I still think they're in front of the others.
Well, Dave, thanks very much for joining us here in the Sheds, mate.
All right, thank you.
It has been the first edition of In the Sheds. Don't forget the Group 9 Rugby League kicks off Thursday, Robertson Oval. 4:05 Brothers taking on Kangaroos. It's going to be one hell of a game. Get out there and support your local team, and make sure you join us online at the Group 9 website for the latest for round 2.